Hi there, I'm Andrew. Welcome to Urban Rider. Today we're going to talk about not getting wet. Well, specifically we're going to try and make sense of the jargon associated with waterproof motorcycle clothing so you can kit your locker out with the right gear for your riding needs. If the only goal was to keep water out, then why not just make everything waterproof? Well, waterproof fabrics aren't particularly nice to wear. After all, a waterproof membrane is just something that's got no holes in it, so air and moisture can't escape. It works both ways. So over time you still get wet, just from the inside. That doesn't mean that solely waterproof fabrics are no good though. They can be a great choice for rain gear, outer jackets and outer trousers to avoid getting caught out in those showers. So you'll accept getting a little bit clammy on those occasions. Also, they serve as a really good wind stopper, so they can be really useful on colder days as well. So for that reason, a lot of riders tend to have something like this stored in their backpack or in their top box for those particular occasions. The seams, the Achilles heel of any piece of waterproof gear, and in our experience it's always the seams that fail first on a waterproof item. You can have the best waterproof fabric in the world, but if it's not put together properly, then it's going to cause problems. All of these items of gear, they're all panels put together according to a particular pattern, and they're stitched together, which is going to create holes in the fabric. So that means a weak spot and you need to tape over them. This is a real art, and this defines what makes a good piece of waterproof gear as opposed to a poor one. And it's our job at Urban Rider to pick the best ones in our lineup so that you don't have to worry about it. Waterproof and breathable, usually found at a higher price point, and in everything except price, essentially better in every way than something that's solely waterproof. So sit tight, it's about to get a bit geeky. Waterproof and breathable membranes have tiny holes throughout that's about 20,000 times smaller than a droplet of water, and this allows air and vapor from the inside to travel to the outside, but it stops the water on the outside getting in, and this is really important in continuing your body's natural process of heat and moisture removal. Gore-tex remain the best known brand on the market, having been the original waterproof and breathable membrane, and they remain, so far as I know, the only brand to insist all of the products containing it are submitted to them first for testing, and they also offer a lifetime guarantee on the membrane. Waterproofing and breathability are both measurable features, and that creates a really useful reference point in comparing the garments that you're looking at against one another. Waterproofness is measured in millimeters, that is the height of water it would take to penetrate through the fabric, while breathability is measured in grams of water vapor per square meter that can travel through from inside to outside the fabric in a 24-hour period. Waterproofing tends to vary from the 5,000 to 30,000 millimeter category, and breathability tends to vary similarly from about 5 to 25,000. Now clearly there's a correlation between those two, so the higher the factor for the breathability, the less likely it is you can achieve really good levels of waterproofing, and vice versa. The very best membranes out there achieve high scores on both. Gore-tex as a reference point achieves up to 30,000 for waterproofing and 25,000 for breathability. Of course, the most breathable fabrics are the ones that aren't waterproof in the first place. You could use something like a chemical treatment spray to make them water resistant, or you could coat them in something like a wax on the outside, but then you run into those same inverse problems of breathability again, and it's unlikely that either of these solutions are going to achieve the levels you need of waterproofing on their own. So you're going to need to team it up with something like the outer rainwear we mentioned earlier in the video. So why not just leave this as something to use on those hotter days and get yourself something specifically dedicated to wet weather riding. Another factor to consider here is how the membrane is fitted into your jacket. You have drop liners and you have laminated membranes. A drop liner simply sits between the outer fabric and whatever's underneath, floating in the middle and sealed around the edges. Now, this works fine in terms of the membrane, but it means that the outer fabric itself is eventually going to saturate and get wet, and that means that the jacket is going to become heavy and less pleasant to wear. Compare that to something like this with a laminated membrane, and it can make a big difference. Here the membrane itself is actually bonded to the underside of the outer layer, meaning that water cannot penetrate or saturate the outer layer of fabric, meaning the jacket remains lighter weight and it improves overall performance. Given the production process being a little bit more complex in those cases of laminated membranes, you can understand why things would be a bit more expensive. But if you're spending thousands on your bike and motorcycling is a passion of yours, why not, for the sake of a few £100s extra, get the gear that does exactly what you need it to in all riding conditions. So we hope we've shown in this review that there are lots of different intricacies to the elements of waterproofing, and we'll be doing far more dedicated reviews on technically minded gear throughout Sensible September. So stay tuned and we'll see you again. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
I'm empty, I got that in there.